Good afternoon. We have a quorum, so we're going to begin. Good afternoon, welcome everyone. I am Sharon Green Middleton, Vice President of the City Council, representative for the 6th Council District and Chairperson for the Economic and Community Development Committee. This afternoon, we will hear the following bills: 22-0303, City Streets Closing, a portion of Marion Street; 230391, City Streets Closing, a portion of Boston Street; and 230395, Air Rights Closing, a portion of Newkirk Street. In attendance today, we have John Bullock of the 9th District, Ryan Dorsey of the 3rd District, and Robert Stokes of the 12th District. And representing the Office of the President, we have Tiffany Macklin, Deputy Director for Legislation. And I also see Dexter Lockamy. Representing the Office of the Mayor, we have Tyler Shanella with Government Relations. So let's begin, and we're starting with Bill number 22-0303, City Streets Closing, a portion of Marion Street, for the purpose of condemning and closing air rights above a portion of Marion Street, extending westerly 103 feet more or less from Kimmel Alley, beginning at a horizontal plane of 14 feet above street level, and closing subterranean rights below a portion of Marion Street, extending westerly 62.5 feet more or less from Kimmel Alley, beginning at a horizontal plane at elevation 62 feet based on Baltimore City Survey Control System, as shown on a plat numbered 330-A-28A, sheets 1 and 2, dated June 20th, 2022, prepared by the Survey Section and filled with the Department of Transportation, and providing for a special effective date. This bill was introduced on December 5th, 2022, and it's been waiting a while. This bill was sponsored by the administration through City Council, and we'll start with the City Solicitor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Michelle Toth on behalf of the City Solicitor, and we stand by our report approving for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you. And Department of Planning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Renata Southard on behalf of the Department of Planning. We stand by our memo and our report of no objection. Thank you.
Thank you. Department of Housing and Community Development.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Stephanie Murdoch on behalf of the HCD. We respectfully stand by our favorable bill report.
Thank you. And Baltimore Development Corporation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tom Welly, BDC. We stand by our favorable report.
Thank you. Do committee members have any comments or?
Transportation, ma'am.
Oh, Department of Transportation. I think.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh,
Luciano
sorry.
Diaz, DOT. We stand by our bill report and respectfully request a favorable report by the committee.
Thank you. Committee members have any questions or comments? Yes, Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The bill long title says for the purpose of condemning and closing air rights, but the short title says City Streets Closing a portion of Marion Street. A portion of the air or a portion of the street? Because we have another bill that specifically says closing air rights, but this bill long title says closing air rights. The short title does not.
Department of Planning, did you, could you speak on that if you can? Just kind of explain.
Sure. So the Department of Planning viewed this bill as being closing a portion of Marion Street, both the air rights and the subterranean rights. This will facilitate a sale of the property, or a sale for the property that includes both connecting a bridge over the right-of-way and underground utility tunnels.
So it's,
And I will also allow a person that is involved with this bill. You go ahead and you can identify yourself.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin Greenberg, on behalf of the owner of 300 West Fayette Street, which is the applicant here with the city in closing the air rights and subterranean rights. And I think that's the reason that the title is different than the other bill. That one does not include subterranean rights. I think it's really just an abbreviation. It's a portion of Marion Street, but it's a portion that includes both air rights and subterranean rights, not the street right-of-way. If it's helpful, and I have all three bills that you have with you today, so I don't know how much detail you want to go into or not, but I did bring a photo that shows the existing condition and the tax plat that shows the location of the air rights structure. You can't see the subterranean structure, but you can see where it's located.
Thank you. We'll start with the person in question. Councilman Dorsey, did you want to see this?
and I know this spot. I'm just,
Okay.
what is the current status of the actual road there?
You might want to look at the photo. It's the roadway is open. The roadway provides access to some of the other buildings on the block. You can drive a car down.
Does it remain in public hands, or
Yes.
is it,
Yes.
it's
So-
not privately owned?
It's not privately owned. So this is really interesting. The building at 300 West Fayette Street was originally constructed in the early 20th century as a May Company department store, and the building on the block behind was their warehouse. And they constructed this, it's partially 5 and partially 6-story bridge structure that connects the two buildings over the roadway. And then there was a subterranean tunnel underneath that also connected the two buildings that they used to bring products back and forth from their warehouse to the showroom. And over time, obviously, it was a Hex department store for a long time, and then it closed, and it's had a number of uses over the years. My client purchased it from a group that had acquired it vacant, I believe, and the building had been subject to a franchise, the cost of which had gone up astronomically.
So the bridge already exists.
It's there.
But they're paying a franchise, and that's stupid expensive when you can just purchase the air rights.
You've hit the nail on the head.
And is there already a tunnel underneath?
There is already a tunnel underneath.
I see. Okay. Is there a franchise for the tunnel?
There is. The same franchise. Covered both.
Okay. Now I understand. My family's business was for a long, long time at 402 West Fayette Street.
Oh, so you must know it well.
Yeah, not far from here. Okay. This all clarified. I don't think that the bill is actually clear about this, because even in the short title says closing a portion of Marion Street, not air rights or subterranean, and then the long title only says closing air rights, nothing about subterranean at all in the long title of the bill.
The title of the bill is not the operative language that becomes part of the law.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't think it's defective. I think it could be more precise. I agree with you.
Usually I would expect the law department to say it has to have these things. I don't know. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the portion of Marion Street? And also want to recognize Councilwoman Ramos, member of the committee of the 14th District. Hearing no other questions or comments, we'll begin with in-person testimony. And Ms. Heckler just spoke to clarify a question. And we'll check to see if there's anyone online. And there is no one online wishing to testify. Is there a motion to move the bill as favorable?
So moved.
So moved by Councilman Dorsey, second by Councilman Bullock. Chair Middleton is a yes. Bullock is a yes. Conway absent. Dorsey is a yes. Glover absent. Ramos is a yes. And Stokes is a yes. This bill will move to second reader at the next council meeting. Next, the committee will hear Bill number 23-0391, City Streets Closing, and this is a portion of Boston Street. For the purpose of condemning and closing a portion of Boston Street bounded by the east side of Haven Street, the southernmost property line of 1201 South Haven LLC, the west side of Caton Railroad right-of-way, and the north side of Boston Street is shown on a plat numbered 307-A-22A dated March 17th, 2022, and filed in the Department of Transportation and provided for a special effective date. This bill was introduced on June 12th, 2023. This bill's also sponsored by City Council President for the administration. And we'll start with the City Solicitor's Office.
Michelle Toth on behalf of City Solicitor's Office, and we approve for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you. Approved. And now Planning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Renata Southard on behalf of Planning, and we stand by our favorable report.
Thank you. Department of Housing and Community Development.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, Stephanie Murdoch for Baltimore City DHCD. We respectfully stand by our favorable bill report.
Thank you. Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Luciana Diaz, DOT. And we stand by our bill report requesting a favorable report by the committee.
Okay. And then we have the Office of Civil Rights and Wage Enforcement.
Madam Chair, OECR stands by its bill report and defers to the Department of Transportation.
Thank you. And BDC.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tom Welly, BDC. We stand by our favorable report.
Thank you. And Caroline, did you have any comments on this one too?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Caroline Hecker again, Rosenberg, Martin, Greenberg. I'm happy to answer any questions. I have another photo if it's helpful to show what this area is. It's a piece of Boston Street that was redeveloped as part of the Canton Collective Shopping Center. There is a structure built in this area now that was constructed pursuant to the right of entry agreement that the city issued in connection with the proposed closing of this portion of Boston Street. But the building is built, and this is just sort of housekeeping to clean up the rest of the process.
Thank you. Any questions from council members or comments on this bill? Is there a plat? The question is, do you have a plat?
DOT prepares them. I don't know. I mean, I have the one that our client prepared. I don't know if that's sufficient just for illustrative purposes, but typically DOT. I beg your pardon? I do.
And DOT, you have any further comments?
Yes, just to clarify, this property was built on part of the Boston Street right-of-way. We allowed that to happen, and this bill essentially completes the process of making that permanent. There will be a follow-up bill, that's Bill 493, and it will allow for the sale of that portion of Boston Street to the property owner. This same process of first authorizing the construction and then selling the property was also followed for 3 other properties on the west side of the adjacent street.
Thank you for that additional clarification. Councilman Dorsey, any questions on this?
Is this a property that has a parking lot on it that's associated with a Quickway Hibachi Grill?
The parking lot is partially associated with that. It's that's part of that center. Yeah, it's not just for the Quickway, but it's the parcel is actually where the Starbucks drive-through is.
Oh, I don't see that, but okay. Okay, this is immediately adjacent on the west side of the railroad.
Yes.
And it's just so confusing. I wouldn't think that this property that has a hibachi grill and a parking lot on it is part of Boston Street?
It is, actually. It's really interesting. The block on the other side of Haven Street also has a similar strip that runs along the front of the shopping center that's also part of the Boston Street right-of-way. That parcel was already closed and conveyed to the developer.
The Sprouts parking lot.
The Sprouts parking lot. It was originally taken as additional city right-of-way for the proposed expansion of Boston Street, the widening of Boston Street, in connection with the original Red Line project, like 100 years ago. And then when the Red Line project was canceled, the it was determined that this piece of Boston Street was no longer necessary to remain a piece of public right-of-way. Now this piece is no longer in any of the proposed alignments for the future red line.
Stop making me sad.
I know.
Just
I was
stop.
very sad about the red line.
Okay, we're done.
Yeah, but this was not part
I'll
of it,
move the
don't
bill
worry.
favorable. We can move on with our lives.
Thank you. Any other questions for any other agencies? Now we'll, I think there's no other public testimony, and we don't see any online testimony as well. Is there a motion to move this bill?
Yes.
So moved by Councilman Dorsey, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bullock. Chair Middleton, yes. Bullock?
Yes.
Is a yes. Conway, absent. Dorsey?
Yes.
Is a yes. Glover, absent. Ramos? Is a yes. And Stokes? Is a yes. This bill will move to second reader at the next council meeting. And the final bill, number 23-0395, air rights closing a portion of Newkirk Street for the purpose of condemning and closing the air rights area extended over a portion of the public right-of-way of Newkirk Street is shown on a plat numbered 337-A-29A dated February 25th, 2022, and filed in the Department of Transportation and providing for a special effective date. And this bill was introduced on June 12th, 2023, and sponsored by the council president for the administration. And we'll start with the city solicitor's office.
Michelle Toth on behalf of the city solicitor, and we approve for form and legal sufficiency.
Thank you. And Department of Planning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Renata Southard, on behalf of Planning, we stand by our favorable report.
Thank you. Department of Housing.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Stephanie Murdoch, we stand by our favorable bill report.
Thank you. Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Luciano Diaz, DOT. We stand by our bill report and request a favorable report by the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. And the Office of Civil Rights and Wage Enforcement.
The Office of Equity and Civil Rights stands by its bill report and defers to the Department of Transportation. To the Department of Planning.
Thank you. And Baltimore Development Corporation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tom Welly, BDC. We stand by our favorable report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? Councilman Dorsey.
Thanks. She knows I have comments. I just want to comment that so often I have to tell people the city council members do not have the kind of unlimited power that you think that we have. We can't just wave our hand and make magical thing happen.
Correct.
But there comes a day when you get to pass a bill that says ascending to an elevation of unlimited height. And you just go, my power is so endless. What am I gonna do with it today? And today, I'm gonna vote favorable on this bill.
Oh, wow.
To an unlimited height, ascending.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments? Yes, Councilwoman Ramos.
And none of these have plats or maps attached to them, so we have not been able to see, I figured it out, but I'm hoping that we can get those for future closings. I'm just curious.
There is
no,
a plat on the record for this bill.
It's not on the bill file.
That's the council staff, but there's a plat on the record.
Well, yeah, I
There's-
could look it up. I can look it up.
Is that a plat you have?
It's a drawing.
Okay. So that'll be no problem. In the future, we'll make sure plats are in the packet.
Well, Madam Chair, if I may, this is because this is air rights, so it's not going to be like a land-based plat. It's showing you the altitude from with the air that's being closed. That's what this
I
map
don't
is.
want to see the air, which I can't see anyway. I just want to see where we are talking about.
Explaining to you that's what is attached to the bill file.
Caroline,
Caroline has the plat.
Come on down.
Good afternoon again, Madam Chair. Caroline Hecker, Rosenberg, Martin, Greenberg, on behalf of the applicant. I do have an aerial photo, Councilwoman Ramos, that shows the location of the bridge. This is It is already constructed, those are the other two things. It runs east-west across Winthrop Street, south of Boston Street, connecting two structures that are operated by GAF Roofing Company. They fabricate roofing supplies. The bridge essentially is a conveyor system that moves product from one facility to the other across the roadway. And you'll see in the aerial, it actually connects across the railroad tracks on the other side to another large facility they have over there. And actually, this one, for whatever reason, I don't know if this is helpful, but I do actually have the DOT plat. I don't think it's very illustrative, but I'll give you this also if you'd like to see it. Okay, yeah, this one. That doesn't tell us anything.
Okay. You want to keep it in the file? We'll keep it in the file. It's in the file? Okay. We have that in the file. Any other questions while Caroline is standing? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Up. Go ahead. Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you. David knows I've read a lot of Maryland land records. We've even read a bunch of them over the phone together. It seemed out of the ordinary to me that it references something so far away. When it says point something, 833 feet from Boston Street. Why is there nothing closer to reference that it needs an 833-foot
I can
reference?
answer that. That's the nearest intersection. That's how they measure it. It's from the nearest street, and it's a big block.
What's the other? The other side is just water?
It runs into the railroad. Eventually, but I think
You go
Boston's closer.
833
Yeah.
feet the other direction and you get wet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boston's the closest street. That's why.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think there's no in-person testimony, and we also do not see any online testimony. Is there a motion to move this bill favorable? Moved by Dorsey and also second by Bullock. Chair Middleton is a yes. Bullock is a yes. Conway absent. Dorsey is a yes. Glover absent. Ramos is a yes. And Stokes is a yes. This bill will also be moved to second reader at the next council meeting, and this hearing is adjourned.